Transgender recognition would be blocked under Mississippi bill defining sex as man or woman. Non-binary people seething in the comments. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know who this is. Joey Hood. Oh, he's a Republican. That makes sense. I can see the rosacea in his cheeks, so obviously he's a Republican. No, I'm just kidding. Rod Blagojevich put on weight. Stop, Mandy. Stop. It's always these southern states. Yeah, every single time. Every single time it's these southern states. That's how it always goes. Okay. Let's zoom in a little bit because this is illegible. Jackson, Mississippi. Sex would be defined as binary under a bill passed Wednesday by Mississippi House lawmakers following the lead of Republican-controlled legislatures around the country that are aiming to restrict the legal recognition of transgender identities. Wow. The masses yearn for my late aughts Illinois state politics references. Okay. Republican Representative Dana McLean's bill defines woman, man, mother, father, female, male, and sex. The definitions all support the idea that sex is defined at birth, and the bill states that, quote, there are only two sexes, and every individual is either male or female. The Senate approves the bill, and it is signed by the governor. Those definitions will be codified into state law. So, isn't there... I thought there was like an authority that defined words and put them in the dictionary for us so that we didn't have to worry about that kind of thing. Was I wrong? Is there not an authority on this? Hang on, let me double check this really quick. Oh, no. Okay. Yes. The lexicographer. The lexicographer comes up with definitions. Lexicographers write dictionaries. They study words and compile results into a dictionary. Interesting. Well, this doesn't say politician. This thing doesn't say that politicians define words. So, unless this is a lexicographer that we're talking about, which, to be honest, I sincerely doubt. Where did it go? Wait, didn't I? Oh yeah, it was this one. Okay. All right, sorry. Anyway. Once it comes to the way the statutes are interpreted, we're going to go based on biological at birth, said Republican Representative Joey Hood, who presented the bill on the House floor. There's no penalty if someone wants to identify one way, we're just doing this to give meaning to the words in our statute. The bill specifies that a person's biological sex, either male or female, as observed or clinically verified at birth, is different from gender identity or other terms intended to convey a person's subjective sense of self. It says that sex-based legal distinctions are in jeopardy and that such distinctions are necessary for safety, fairness, and privacy reasons. So this is something I see a lot, even within the community, is that there seems to be two separate camps of people, right? There seems to be the camp that says that sex and gender are two different things and that gender expression should be allowed no matter what your sex is. And there's another camp that says that trans people have a mental illness and are taking medication to change their sex. There's a lot of like inter-community fighting over the definitions of these two words right here. Sex and gender. So it strikes me as particularly bold for a group of people who are, putting it politely, not very educated on definitions and things that the community wants, to go out and make these assertions on our behalf. Safety, fairness, and privacy reasons, though. Whose safety? Are we talking about, like, hypothetical victims, quote unquote, of like, whose safety are we talking about here? Fairness? This isn't very fair to the people that you're doing this to. Just saying. The proposal is one of numerous measures introduced around the nation this year, part of a push by conservatives who say states have a legitimate interest in blocking transgender people from competing on sports teams or using bathrooms and other spaces that align with their gender identity. Lawmakers in some states have referred to the measure as a Bill of Rights for women. Measures have been proposed this year in at least 13 states. The bills follow a historic push for restrictions on transgender people, especially youths, by Republican lawmakers last year. At least 23 states, including Mississippi, have banned gender-affirming medical care for transgender minors, and some states are now trying to restrict that care for adults as well. Yeah, we mentioned this in the in-game video, the one with Thanos. Do you remember that one? Where the Republicans were caught talking in a Twitter space about how their true endgame with their fights against like trans care for minors was to get it banned for adults as well. To be fair, pro-trans cis Democrats will take definitive authoritative stances on definitions like that too, while they support, but we overlook it because their legislation is, well, supportive materially, usually anyway. Yeah, I get that. You're right. There's a lot of uneducated people in our, our government, I guess, is what you'd say. The other thing I really don't understand is this argument from conservatives that's like, well, you know, these kids, it's just a phase, they'll grow out of it, you know. People on TikTok are brainwashing them, and we just need to, like, clear their minds for them. But they go way out of their way to pass, like, legislation to restrict these things. So if it's just a phase and you consider people will grow out of it at some point, why do you feel the compulsion to ban it? I've been doing everything fancy with my pinky out like this. Like, even like when I drink coffee, pinky out, right? Just like Patrick Star taught us. When I hit my vape, you know? Pinky out. Anyway, measures have been proposed this year in at least 13 states. The bills follow a historic push for restrictions on transgender people, especially youths. I already read this. On Wednesday, the Mississippi Senate passed a bill including the same definitions that would block transgender people, including those who have transitioned, from using restrooms that match their gender identity. The legislation requires public buildings to have single-sex restrooms and changing areas, or unisex spaces designated for one person. A person caught entering the wrong restroom or changing room could be sued. So this, right here, is how all bathrooms should be. That. Right here, right here. See that? The way Starbucks does their restrooms, that's how every single restroom should be, in my opinion. All right. If we want to prioritize safety, you have to consider that it's not just trans people who are going to be like going into restrooms and harming people. In fact, there are very few, if any, documented cases of transgender people going into bathrooms and, assaulting folks, causing people harm. Very few. Very, very few. Now, when you consider how many cis people have gone into restrooms to commit crimes against someone else, you might come up with some different numbers. Go figure. So if we're considering safety, then a restroom built for one person with a locking door is the safest option across the board for everyone. And that's to protect the transgender people who are going to the restrooms as well. Because they're single-sex spaces. Well, unisex spaces, I should say. Anyone can use those, so no one is going to stand outside and question you for going into the wrong restroom. And if you feel unsafe, you can certainly lock the door. I would recommend that even if you didn't feel unsafe, because no one likes to think that a restroom is available when it's occupied. No one. No one likes doing that. Okay. Another bill on its way to the Senate would allow incarcerated people to sue prisons over transgender inmates. Mississippi Democrats said the bill passed Wednesday was unnecessary and would interfere with the decisions of transgender people. This bill would target a whole community of people, of Mississippians, hardworking folks, taxpayers who have to pay our salaries, said Democratic Rep. John Faulkner. Are you okay with that? Hood said the bill doesn't target anyone, it just defines sex-based terms. What you were born with is what you are, he said. Under the proposal, people with developmental differences or intersex conditions would not be considered members of a third sex. The measure says they must be accommodated based on state and federal law, but does not define what those accommodations are. Wow, for a bill that only sets definitions, it just defines sex-based terms, right? You would think there would be a little bit more defining in this bill, right? But it doesn't. As a custodian, cleaning would take forever if all restrooms were single occupancy, but yeah, for user experience, that would be top tier. Well, not necessarily. I disagree with you. Because what you're considering is that we have a separate restroom for every toilet that we have currently in a spot, right? So these restrooms where you have 5, 6, 7 toilets in them, we would have to have 5, 6, 7 different rooms. What I'm proposing is that we take it down to like 2. Put them behind their own doors. I think it would take less time to clean that. But maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'm happy to admit that I've been wrong before. Anyway, the bill will head to the Senate for further consideration. Interesting. Fascinating. We need a revolution for the definition of sex. I thought it was pretty clear to everyone what sex was. And that was that when a man loves a woman very much, they get married, and then they share a bed with each other, where the man inserts his hot dog into the woman's bun. That was what I thought sex meant, okay? They have to love each other. If there's no love, it's not sex. When a mommy and daddy love each other very much, in a very special way,